Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Good old personal scary stories. I'll start. B5. Visiting great-grandma's house with two uncles. Great-grandma is asleep. Big surprise. Suddenly one asks the other about something in a low voice. Other uncle replies with something like, "It's coming, be ready." Wait, what? JPG. All of a sudden, lights go out and there's a crash on far end of the house. Stay here, anon. I stay next to my sleeping grandma in the living room. Both uncles start walking toward noise. Long silence. Then a single loud grunt, not human. They come back. Lights come on. "What was that?" I ask. "It was just an..." One starts. "It was nothing." The other cuts him off. My face, when to this day they won't even admit that ever actually happened.
Be me, just a week after my 18th birthday and my high school graduation. My grandma has been in hospice care for the past few months. That morning, my mom gets the call we have been dreading from my aunt. Grandma took a bad turn and now is the time to tell her our goodbyes. The drive to see her is a few hours and my dad cannot get off work on such short notice, so it is just my mom and I going to see her. I'm not going to go into detail about our visit, mainly because I don't want to, but for the sake of the story, just know that my aunt wasn't exaggerating and grandma wasn't doing well. Anyways, my mom and I are leaving the hospice center, silently walking through the parking lot. I look up at the sky and notice the beginnings of an absolutely beautiful sunset. I am talking completely picturesque, golden beams of sunlight shining through pockets of puffy white clouds set against a waning sky. I feel comforted by this, silently mused to myself about how the warm beauty of this scene is a complete contrast to the absolutely cold and sterile hell I was just in, or something like that. We get in the car and drive home. The next evening, my mom gets the second call we have been dreading from my aunt. Grandma is gone. We all travel back over for the funeral. Afterwards, my dad and I go home while my mom stays in town for a couple days to help sort through grandma's things. A few weeks later, my mom and I are talking about family stuff when she says she wants to tell me something. She says that when we were in the parking lot, she also looked up at the sunset, but she saw something more than I did. In a large pocket between the clouds, she saw 4 figures, all women, backlit by the sun's golden rays. She recognized 3 of them as her grandma and 2 aunts, but she did not know who the 4th woman was. She had felt extremely comforted by this scene, but was also puzzled that she could not recognize this woman who was obviously important to her, puzzled enough to not say anything to me at the time. Fast forward a few days after the funeral. My mom was going through an old photo album of my grandma's when she stumbled across a picture of grandma's family that she had not seen before. In it, she saw her grandma and 2 aunts with my grandma. Then she saw the 4th woman with them as well. She asked my aunt who this woman was, and she told her that was their 3rd aunt. This aunt had died only a year or 2 after my mom was born. My mom obviously had no memories of her and had forgotten she existed. She was on the verge of tears telling me this, both out of joy from telling me what she saw, but also a bit out of guilt from having forgotten about her aunt up until then. I suppose it's possible the ordeal was making my mom just see things, including her subconsciously remembering she had a 3rd aunt and projecting her image with the rest of my grandma's family, but I'd like to think otherwise. They helped alleviate the pain we were feeling at the time, even if I never saw them myself, and I'll always be grateful to them for that.
Be me, 3 weeks ago. Somewhat of a heavy smoker, go outside to the stoop of my apartment building to regularly smoke cigarettes. Every time I would walk through the lobby and turn left onto the 1st floor hallway of my side, 2 wings to the apartment building. I would swear I saw somebody staring at me from the reflection of a mirror, to the left of the threshold of the 1st floor hallway, facing into the lobby. I was disconcerted only to find out that it was the reflection of my back from the mirror exactly opposite. I think nothing of it after realization. though the effect of the mirror is disquieting still. I still sometimes think a figure is walking in the opposite direction of me, usually at nighttime hours. 3 weeks ago, at 3 a.m., I smoked a cigarette and headed back inside. I could swear I saw in this mirror a figure dancing, or gesturing violently or spasmodically. I think nothing of it. I end up starting a game of LOL, and during the pre-game lobby, I run downstairs to have another. I was not satisfied. I finish and walk briskly back, and peek over to the right side of the lobby to see the possibly spasmodic figure. I looked and saw the right side mirror was not there.
My uncle's boss has this lake house down in Georgia. We rented it from him every 4th of July for a huge week-long family get-together, but weird shit started happening there. Be on a trip a few years ago. We just arrived. Everyone was unpacking from the car, but it was hot outside, so us kids just chilled inside. At one point, we hear whistling and footsteps in the basement. Do not pay attention to it until it starts coming up. My little cousin must have thought it was his dad because he yells, "Daddy, what is for lunch?" in the direction of the noise, but just then, it stopped. We did not hear any noise going up or down the stairs, but when I got up to look, there was nothing there. I would also like to point out there is no exit from the basement, and we watched and counted as every person that was unaccounted for came in from outside. Story 2. We'd been at the cabin for a few days now. This was right in the middle of our scheduled stay. A normal morning, everyone wakes up around 8, eats breakfast and whatnot. We start talking about plans for the day when my uncle, who was in the bathroom, comes in, obviously sort of panicked. He looked pale and sick. He told the kids to leave and talk to the adults. We left the room, and Dad comes in later to tell us that we were going to a nearby amusement park for the day. I realized later that the parents just wanted to get the kids out, but the uncle that saw it stayed behind. He has no kids or wife to spend a day with anyway, and packed everything. We left 3 days early. I still do not know what he saw. Story 3. We didn't come back the year after, so this was 2 years later. I was about 9. I still remember this one. We make a regular trip, hoping nothing weird happens. A few days in, nothing remarkable happens. 4th of July celebration. Lots of fireworks. It was just a normal 4th of July. One thing that is important is my older cousin, Russ, decided to throw a little firework in the water. It sank a little, then we saw a flash, and after a few seconds a dead fish floated to the surface. We thought it was funny, but quickly forgot about it. We went to bed that night. The next morning when we wake up, the place smells faintly like fish. I shit you not. We tried to find out where it was coming from. Everyone smelled it. It was not inside. Me and Russ went down to check out the shore, and there were dead fish everywhere. Possibly hundreds of just dead fish littered up and down the shore for at least 100 feet. We have no idea how they got there. We left the next morning because fuck that shit. Last one. This is the last time we went, the year after the fish incident. By now, the rest of the younger kids are starting to pick up that something is really wrong with this place. We went anyways, decided to try one last time. It was pretty normal for the first week almost. A couple days after the 4th of July, at 3-ish in the morning I think it was, everyone in the house except Russ and my dad woke up to a scream and a crash. We woke Dad and Russ up after we started moving around. We were looking around to see what it was. My other uncle, Russ's dad, comes out of the downstairs bathroom kinda worried. We were all allowed to see what happened. The bathroom was a mess. The drawers were emptied onto the floor but pushed back in. And the mirror. It was not broken or anything. There were no shards of metal or glass on the floor. It was just gone. As in, there was no evidence a mirror ever was there. We once again packed our shit and left, but this time we never came back. A few years after, I heard the owner sold it and moved across the country to Cali, where he offed himself a few months in. The whole thing was surreal. I still want to go back there someday.
So after all that shit, you still want to go back? You just want something worse to happen, or you're lying?
Fortunately, I don't really have much. Be somewhere between 10 and 12. All through the year, at random times, I hear my name be called. I look and no one is ever there. Always different voices. Most times, it sounds as if they are not that close to me. One day, leaving the grocery store with my mom. She's ahead of me, already at the second set of doors, almost outside. I'm heading to the first set of doors. I clearly hear my name simply said right behind me. It sounded like a girl my age. I turn and look. No one there. I look around and no one is even looking in my direction. It stops sometime after that. Be 2013. Be 21, at work in a warehouse. I swear I hear my name called several times from September to around November. Then it stopped again. It freaked me out in the grocery store. Haven't told too many people about it. My mom back when it happened, and a dude I worked with back in October or November.
Usually just lurking. First post, bear with me. Be between 10 to 13. I moved to Alabama with my family. Huge ass house on a pond thing, but hideous. Gray with pink doors. Family falls in love with it. Vaulted ceiling interior is the roof of an old barn. Stair railings are wrought iron from a hotel that burned down. Previous owners leave a bunch of their shit in the garage along with some clothes in my closet, a bunch of coats in the spare room closet, and a giant painting of a cityscape in an alcove at second-story level that you need a ladder to get to. The family comes to pick up their shit a few weeks after we move in. Dad goes out to greet them, but they do not want to come inside at all. They load the shit in the garage into their truck and leave. With the exception of the clothes in my closet, we leave everything where it is. Screw it, free painting. Everything is chill for a couple months. Brother and I have our own bathrooms, but Brother's is connected to the spare bedroom by a second door. We start remodeling and the bugs start. Brother hates ants. Ants start chilling in his bathroom and only in his bathroom. Father hates spiders. Spiders start showing up only in the master bedroom. I fucking hate wasps. Wasps start getting in through the window in my bathroom. Parents' marriage starts breaking down, and the family drifts apart. Mom spends all her time gardening. Dad starts sleeping in the spare bedroom with the creepy little being John Malkovich closet door with the mirror on it. Brother starts hearing his name called while he showers, usually thinking it is one of us. Brother and I start hearing footsteps and something's feet running across the top of the stairs when we pass. During the day, the spare bedroom door starts popping open after we close it. This happens year-round, so it is not the wood swelling or contracting. It does not swing open all the way, just probably 4 or 5 inches. Eventually, we decided to move out of state. Moving day, the spare bedroom door stays closed. A big-ass paint bubble forms in the middle of my parents' ceiling, right below the spare room. We nope out of there. We leave the painting behind. I don't know. The story might seem a bit boring, but it was weird shit, man. It didn't really freak any of us out too badly until we started talking about it after moving. Like at the time, it was just no big deal. My dad maintains that he loved that house, but he told us something pretty goddamned unsettling. Apparently, he'd be reading at night in the spare bedroom, lying on his back, the back of his head facing the closet door with the mirror on it. When he looked up at the mirror upside down, the face in it wasn't his. He went back to reading and it never happened again.
Be me 12, sitting in the living room with my brother and 2 of my sisters watching TV. An old Mother's Day balloon is in the other room. The balloon starts floating toward the living room from the corner it was in. It was a helium balloon, by the way. It never touches the ceiling while floating. It is just hovering. When the balloon gets to the doorway leading into the living room, it floats down so it can get through the opening. We are all staring at it now in silence. It continues to float toward our rec room and makes it to the doorway. It then ducks to enter that room too. We are all freaking out. The fact that the helium balloon never touched the ceiling and ducked down only when going through a doorway and then going right back up was weird enough. Our great-grandmother died in the rec room it hovered to, and we think maybe she wanted the Mother's Day balloon. I know it seems like a lame story, but that's all I've experienced.
2 years ago up in Washington, around the neighborhood I live, I used to take my dog on nightly walks during the summer. I live away from the city, so fields and houses are pretty spread out. One night, Me and my dog left during a new moon. Pitch black, aside from the street lights. I didn't think anything of it, so we walk. Anyway, a mile or two in, we cross a rickety old house next to an open field. I hear a blood-curdling scream. It was really awful and brief. I freeze in my step and look into the field. Suddenly I see what I can only describe as a banshee. A pale, fat, naked, dirty dude ran through the field without a sound. I panicked and ran with my dog. Because, honestly, not today, Satan. Anyway, I try to rationalize that in my head and just chalk it up to drunk and or homeless. So on my way home, I decided to take the road through to the church. 'Cause I'm not backtracking. Now, the shitty thing was that there weren't a lot of streetlights up at the time. Still an area in development. So I'm freaking out all the way through the dark, only seeing the light at the church. I almost made it and felt relieved. But suddenly I heard something in the bushes directly behind me, right before the light of the church. I'm freaking out. And so I turned around with my dog to see what happened. Right before me, I can only describe to you what it looked like. I say it because I to this day don't think it was natural. Standing in front of me was a black dog. I don't mean like a dark breed or something. I mean pitch black. A void. Nothingness. You're probably thinking it's just overactive imagination or nerves. But I was near the church's light. And my dog is a black lab. And I could make out all his features just fine in the little light. But that thing, no. That wasn't a dog. It didn't breathe. It had no eyes. No features whatsoever, but I knew it was looking at me. No, here's another thing. My dog, terrible with other dogs, attacks them on sight, or if nothing else barks. This time, nothing. Not a sound from him. Just tail tucked between his legs and stepping away. It was only when I felt him tug away that I ran straight into the church light and then turned again to see the thing. But by then it was gone. Nothingness. I ran home that night. It was only till I was back in my neighborhood that I stopped. But then something else happened. But it was actually comforting, like a sign. Outside my house in my front yard was a large stag, eating the grass next to my willow tree. It was odd because as I walked closer to my house, it saw me, then walked across the street to where I was calmly, and it stared. Then slowly walked away. I thought deer were skittish. That or I saw Bambi's dad, but anyway, I felt oddly reassured. Like this deer is saying it's safe here. No worries. I've heard that when homes have been blessed, there are signs like that. It's not the first time I saw that deer there either. Life is strange, but needless to say, I never walk my dog at night, or even go out at night unless with a group. Sorry if my messages are all over the place. I've never posted here, and I wanted to share my story. I still don't know what the hell all that was. It was an eventful night.
Yesterday, first day of English 102. I awkwardly sit in a crowded classroom for 20 minutes before the professor strolls in late. "Get up!" She commands a student to stand up, then takes over his seat. "What the fuck?" She yells at a student because there is an extra chair behind him, makes the standing student sit in it. She spends about a minute covering the syllabus. Okay, enough of that. Time for introductions. We say who we are, where we are from, our major, etc. She stares at us and grills us about our personal lives when our turn comes up. One guy says he works at a local BBQ restaurant. The professor says it is a good thing he did not work at Zumiez. The site of a murder, then self-termination involving 2 employees a few days prior. Another guy talks about gunshots outside his window in some shitty ghetto. She says, "It would be pretty bad if I was armed right now." People start getting really uncomfortable. Before she can start making 9/11 or Uncle Ted jokes, multiple administrators enter the room. "May we speak with you outside concerning a student?" "Sure." 2 administrators grab her and take her away. We all let out a sigh of relief. A faculty member comes in, takes our professor's place, and introduces herself as the head of the psych department. Unfortunately, your professor is feeling a little under the weather today, so I will be filling in for the rest of class. Has anything, interesting happened? YES. The psych professor reviews the syllabus, then dismisses us, since she obviously does not teach the course. As I leave, I notice an administrator on a red emergency hall phone, only can call campus security, talking about an incident. Mental illness scares me to no end. The fact we all were in a room where the authority figure snapped and was fucking psycho for 30 minutes makes me glad she didn't try to hurt us. What's worse is she taught 2 class sessions before mine, and multiple students probably reported her to the college before the administration realized something was up.
Some background on the house I used to live in. Normal townhouse. I always used to feel like I was being watched in my room and in the computer room. The computer room was especially bad. I would only be able to stay there for an hour or so. It also looked like something was written on the wall in there with paint or something, but I could never really make it out because the light shone on it and washed it out. Okay, story time. Be a youngin', probably about 12. Sleeping early in the morning, awoken to the sounds of my parents getting ready downstairs. I open my eyes and look over at the alarm clock. It is about 7:30 a.m. It is extremely unusual for me to wake up on my own, even now. I feel rested. I listen to my parents making breakfast downstairs and lie in bed for a few minutes. I see something out of my lower peripheral. A black figure that appears to be a man walking completely silently past my doorway into the computer room. Nope.jpg. I lay there terrified for a few moments, trying to get my shit together so I can move. I finally gather courage to look into the computer room, throw on the light. Nobody is there, nowhere to hide. The window is closed. I start baking a pantloaf and flee downstairs. I ask my parents if either of them were upstairs just now. They look at me like I am autistic. Thinking about it now, it may have just been a random case of sleep paralysis. Still makes me shudder thinking about it.
Be me, 14. Have a 6 out of 10 girlfriend. She invites me over to her house during winter on a Saturday. I show up and her dad is a creepy bearded man in a wheelchair. He tells me he likes my coat, like 30 times. I am barely noping in first gear. My girlfriend decides we should walk through the woods behind the house together in the snow. We suit up and head out. It is cold, but no wind, so the outlook is good. We enter the woods around the time the sun just starts to set. Twilight. The woods drop down into a little valley where there is a small creek. Trees are really dense just outside the little valley, but sparse on the creek banks. We walk along and joke around like dumb kids in love. Everything starts feeling really surreal and disconnected from the world. I am noping in second gear. I check my watch before cell phones were popular. It has been 2 hours and the sun is still not setting. The strange twilight lighting gets more blue and we come to a really old-looking tree. The tree is full of dolls, baby shoes, toys, etc. They are decrepit and strung with shoelaces and random string. I am noping in fourth gear hard, but my girlfriend seems more interested than scared, so I hide it. We kept walking along the creek for almost another hour, and the sun still did not set. It was still twilight. We climb a small hill to get out of the bank together and find a desert full of sand dunes without any snow on them. It makes me feel sick. Everything in this desert looks creepy and maximum over nope.avi. I grabbed my girlfriend by the hand and run back the way we came until I was exhausted and we had to walk. It took damn near 3 hours to walk back, and the whole time it was like twilight out. We stepped out of the creek bank and back into regular woods where we came from, and it got dark in under a minute. We got back to her house and I called my mom to come get me. I went home and noped hard. Till Sunday night, my girlfriend did the same. It was twilight till 11 p.m. in the middle of winter. There are no deserts in upstate New York. Not a flake of snow fell on us the whole time, but her yard had an extra foot of snow compared to when we left. Guys, WTF happened to me and why? Still freaks me out when I think about it.
The lights of the city, even if they're far, can light the sky when it's snowy, and it usually precedes snowfall.
Be in 5th grade. Sleep over at a friend's house. We are up all night, about 4 a.m. He is in his bed and I am in a blanket on the floor. We are talking. All of a sudden we hear a loud crash come from downstairs. It is really loud, like if a car hit his house, or his huge TV fell or something. He was rich. We walked out of his room to see what happened. His dad comes out of his room and stops us before we go downstairs. He goes down and stays for about 10 minutes. We can hear him talking in a low voice. It sounds angry. He comes back up and tells us to go back to bed. Naturally, we went downstairs to see what happened. The house looks the same. Nothing out of the ordinary, and his garage is normal too. We go back up wondering what it was. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but as the years went on, I wondered more and more about the situation. Years later in high school, we didn't talk much anymore, but I asked him if he ever found out from his dad what had happened. He said he had asked him a lot about it since then, but his dad never told him what it was. We both know it was something though, kinda spooky.
The Gimp broke loose, but Dad soon put him back in his box. Too spooky.
At my friend's house, in his bonus room, which is upstairs directly above the garage. Every 15 minutes there is a loud knocking sound coming from the garage. It sounds like someone throwing a large sack of flour or hitting a large piece of wood with a hammer. One night we bravely go down to see what the hell it is. We open the door, we get on the floor. Nobody was walking the dinosaur. There is nothing in the garage that could have made that noise. The house settling does not sound like that. It still happens every 15 minutes to this day. And another one, at the same friend's house, sleeping in the bonus room, with TV on as something to fall asleep to. Friend's mom sleepwalks. She goes downstairs and starts playing their piano, but she is not playing very smoothly because she is asleep. The cable cuts out at some point while I am sleeping, because Comcast is the worst. I wake up to static on the TV while my friend's mom is playing creepy-ass piano music. Friend's dad wakes her up because he is a badass who legitimately does not afraid of anything. We put on Netflix and go back to sleep. The entire family pretends like it did not happen the next day.
It was in the last quarter of 2006 that I met this wonderful girl. I was 16 and she was the same age. We met online on a website called High Five, which I'm sure many of you would remember. Anyways, we met in a paranormal discussion group. We chatted every day through MSN, and it turned out she was from Chile but happened to be living in California. As a teenager madly in love, I flew all the way from Florida to California. Things were weird but better than expected. It was hard to make the move, but she finally became my girlfriend. By August 2008, we were 18, so we decided to go to Chile for her birthday. We rented a house up in the hills. The place was quiet, with woods to the west of the house and a small lake down the hill next to the woods. We had an awesome time together, but we were both arrogant, so the occasional fight was on the table. One day we fought because I didn't want her to chat with other guys online so much. She spent as much time with them as she did with me, and it kinda touched a nerve. Anyways, that night I decided to go for a hike outside for a while. It was around 23 o'clock when I heard a scream. It sounded like a delicate man being slowly skinned alive. I could not make out where it was coming from, but since I was not far from our place, I ran. As I was running, I tripped and lost consciousness before hitting the ground. I woke up all wet and shirtless with one sock, but it was ripped, and my boxers were also ripped. Looking around, I was in the backyard. My girlfriend was looking at me through the window, looking so scared. She finally came out and asked me if I remembered anything. I told her the last thing I remembered was hearing a scream and running back to check if she was okay. She kept staring at me and told me it would be fine. We went inside, drank coffee, and tried to act like nothing had ever happened. And so we did for the next 2 days. On the third night, she approached me and told me we could no longer pretend. She had to tell me. I went to make some coffee and got ready to listen. She told me she had heard the scream too, but it was me screaming. I interrupted. No way! I was angry and was just walking around. I heard it from a distance. She then continued, telling me that as soon as she had heard me scream, she ran outside and saw this dog-like creature running and falling into the lake. She was scared and tried to call me a few times. Not getting any response, she decided to look for me. As she made rounds around the cabin, she then saw me just outside the lake, unconscious. She said she was scared of what I could have become. I try so hard to make sense of this, throwing theory after theory of what could have happened. I still pass out sometimes and wake up in places I have never been before. It's been years, I hate it, but I am kinda used to it. It doesn't scare me as much as it used to. My girlfriend disappeared in 2011. I haven't been able to move on. She was the only one who could really keep up with this.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.